Pope Francis, the head of the Catholic Church, who sought to reconnect the house of God with the essentials of the Christian faith, has died. Border checkpoints get busy as Hongkongers head back home after the long Easter weekend. And in a citywide sweep on narcotics, police arrest 34 people, including a 13-year-old, during an anti-crime operation over the Easter holidays. Good evening. You're now watching Cable News. I'm Cheryl Yun. Catholics around the world are mourning the death of Pope Francis, who passed away earlier today at the Vatican, aged 88. A voice for the poor, Francis had sought to reform the Catholic Church by making it more inclusive and returning the institution back to the people. Evelyn Bai tells us more.
Carissimi fratelli e sorelle.
Cardinal Kevin Farrell, who is the Carmelango of the Holy Roman Church, read a statement from the Vatican, which announced the death of the 88-year-old pontiff. Despite his ill health, Pope Francis made his last public appearance yesterday to give blessings to the thousands of faithful who had gathered in St. Peter's Square on Easter Sunday.
Cari fratelli e sorelle.
After wishing the crowd on the holiest day in the Roman Catholic calendar, Francis made a tour of the piazza in the Pope Mobile, stopping occasionally to bless babies brought up to him. And, regardless of having cut back on his workload, the Holy Father met briefly with visiting U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance. Born in Buenos Aires, Argentina in 1936, then known as Jorge Mario Bergoglio, Francis is the first pope from the Americas or the Southern Hemisphere. After being elected in March 2013, he took the name Francis in honor of St. Francis of Assisi and had done so because he was concerned for the well-being of the poor. Appealing to hardliners with his orthodox views, Francis also attracted reformers with his liberal stance on social justice. Having traveled extensively, Francis promoted interfaith dialogue and exchanges to foster deeper relationships between Christian and non-Christian communities. Fearing humility over pomp, Pope Francis had recently approved plans to make his funeral a less complex procedure. He will not be laid to rest at the Vatican grottos, and has asked for a burial at the Basilica of St. Mary Major in Rome. In recent months, Francis had struggled with his health after developing pneumonia in both lungs. He spent 5 weeks in hospital before he was discharged last month. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
With the Easter break drawing to a close, border checkpoints started to see throngs of Hongkongers making their trips back home in the afternoon. Some residents chose to be early birds, returning early this morning to avoid the anticipated crowds. The Immigration Department said 310,000 inbound trips were logged on Monday as of 4 p.m. Bess Leung reports.
Anticipating flocks of returning travelers from the mainland later in the day, some residents arrived early at the Hong Kong-Zhuhai-Macau Bridge checkpoint this morning. This man said he spent 5 hours when he headed to the mainland, so he planned for an early departure to avoid the crowds. This man was surprised by the later crowds, expecting it to be much busier. The low passenger volume this morning has resulted in taxi drivers awaiting customers at the stand. This driver lamented the slow business, saying he had to wait for 4 to 5 hours for a passenger in the past few days. With more residents coming home in the afternoon, cabbies heading to the West Kowloon Station and Shenzhen Bay Port were doing better business. The This taxi driver, who specifically drove to Shenzhen Bay Port, mentioned that with so many people departing, the same number would soon be returning, ensuring a steady flow of passengers. The Immigration Department had previously predicted over 610,000 inbound trips to Hong Kong on last day of the holiday. The Transport Department had instructed public transport operators to prepare for the surge in returning travelers. Best Learn Cable News.
Police stepped up efforts to combat crimes over the Easter holidays, arresting 34 people.
Codenamed Operation Star Orbit, the Kowloon West Region Police set up roadblocks to target vehicle-related crimes and increased inspections of bars and nightclubs. Over the past 2 days, 22 male and 12 female aged 13 to 71 were arrested on suspicion of trafficking dangerous drug, furious driving, possession of offensive weapon, and more. One incident took place yesterday around 5 a.m. when police set up a roadblock in Tsim Sha Tsui. A white private electric vehicle carrying drugs sped off erratically until colliding with a police vehicle in Fo Tan and injuring 2 police officers. Police seized illegal weapons and a large quantity of drugs, including cannabis products such as buds, oil, chocolate, as well as space oil on the vehicle, valued at $147,000. Authorities strongly condemned the actions of the 4 arrestees, 3 men and 1 woman aged 20 to 23, who were under detention. Separately, police also arrested a 16-year-old woman in possession of etomidate, the main ingredient of space oil cigarettes. The government has listed etomidate as a dangerous drug since February this year. Possession and consumption of such drug faces a maximum penalty of 7 years behind bars and a fine of $1 million.
A proposal by the Hong Kong Council on Smoking and Health to designate non-smoking floors in public housing estates has sparked concerns from lawmakers, worrying that it would undermine residents' basic housing rights and further lengthen the waiting times for public flats. Evelyn Bai again has the story.
Currently, smoking is banned in public areas of public housing estates, with rule breakers fined $1,500 and docked 5 penalty points under the marking scheme. Those who have accrued 16 points within 2 years will face tenancy termination. Henry Tong, chairman of COSH, earlier proposed to double the fines to $3,000 and to trial smoke-free floors, eventually expanding to full public housing estate bans. He cited a study showing a rising trend in second-hand smoke exposure among adolescents at home and increasing complaints about neighbors smoking, with the smoke drifting over. However, lawmaker Scott Leung, also a member of the Housing Authority's Subsidized Housing Committee, said in a radio program that it went too far in correcting the tobacco control problem by using basic housing rights as a tool to enforce no smoking. Does it mean that grassroots living in public housing don't have the right to smoke, while those higher earners in private homes can smoke behind the doors? He argued, saying it will lead to disharmony in society. Speaking in the same program, another subsidized housing committee member, Dennis Leung, said 88% of smokers are from the low-income level, and most of them live in public housing, which might cause limited smoke-free floors and more smoking floors. He also noted the proposed measures may prolong the time to allocate units, further postponing the HA's 3.5-year waiting time pledge for applicants to get into public flats. Evelyn Bai, Cable News.
A civet cat made a surprise appearance at the International Finance Center in Central this morning before being rescued and sent to the Kadoorie farm for further checks.
The civet cat was spotted pacing along the glass wall supports near the escalators on the 2nd floor of the city's landmark skyscraper. It appeared healthy and curious, stretching its neck to peek at its surroundings.
The police were alerted around 7 a.m. with firefighters, conservation officials, and prevention of cruelty to animal staff also arriving at the scene. The team set up a safety net, but the cat suddenly leaped from the ceiling towards the ground. They safely captured the animal and it has been handed over to the Kadoorie farm. Civet cats are protected wild animals in Hong Kong. Anyone found to hunt, disturb, sell, or possess them faces a maximum penalty of $100,000 and a 1-year jail term. Beijing said it firmly opposes any deal between the United States and its trading partners at the expense of Chinese interests. The remarks came after the U.S. is reportedly preparing to pressure other countries to restrict trade ties with China in exchange for tariff exemptions. In a statement, a spokesperson for the Ministry of Commerce said that under the guise of so-called reciprocity, the U.S. has been arbitrarily imposing tariffs on all its trading partners, while pressuring them to engage in so-called reciprocal tariff negotiations, pursuing hegemonic politics and unilateral bullying in the field of international economy and trade. If such a situation arises, China will not accept it and will resolutely take corresponding countermeasures, said the spokesperson, adding that the country has both the resolve and the capability to safeguard its legitimate rights and interests. On to the weather now. Mainly cloudy. It will turn hot with sunny periods during the day. Temperatures will range from 26 to 30 degrees in the urban areas and a couple of degrees higher in the new territories. That's our news tonight. I'm Cheryl Yun. Thanks for watching and good night.